Evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Well, today, the big day. New York primaries, and this year, for the first time in a long time, they actually matter. In fact, they matter a lot. Polls closing in just under 3 hours. We will be back live at 9 p.m. bringing you the results. And we'll have live reports from both Clinton and Trump headquarters, both the candidates still in New York. And we're also following another big story today, which was sentencing day for Peter Liang. He, the former NYPD officer convicted of manslaughter for killing Akai Gurley in a Brooklyn housing project stairwell. We were on the scene in Lower Manhattan with the details, and whether or not Liang is looking at prison time, Dominic will have a live report. But first, a look at the New York primary and what is at stake. A big voting day in the Big Apple.
Who you voting for?
Easy decision.
Frontrunners Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton leading in the polls in New York, casting their ballots and banking on home state wins.
New York is a special place.
I am so excited about both campaigning here in New York, voting here in New York.
Brooklyn-born Sanders putting up a fight for the Democrats' 247 delegates at stake in today's primary, counting on a large turnout at the polls.
Secretary Clinton implied that she could wrap up the whole nomination today.
I'm afraid she's going to be disappointed. We're feeling very good.
And on the Republican side, Trump shaking up his campaign staff, with his field director resigning and putting aside his recent slip-up and referring to 9/11.
And I watch our police and our firemen down in 7-Eleven, down at the World Trade Center.
Today, Trump saying if he wins the GOP's 95 delegates in New York, Ted Cruz should drop out.
Yeah, I would say so, but that's up to him.
Cruz polling behind Trump and John Kasich here in the Empire State.
Maryland is a battleground.
Is focusing on next week's primaries. So for analysis on the races, let's bring in now our guest, ABC News political commentator Cokie Roberts. All right, well, let's do expectations. We'll start on the Democratic side. We all know what the polls have to say. What is one vote more than Sanders enough for Hillary Clinton? What does she have to come out with today to not just say, but actually be able to have a resonating victory?
No, she has to have more than one vote more than Bernie Sanders. She has to have a good showing in New York. After all, she served in the Senate there for 2 terms. She won the New York primary in 2008. She needs to be able to say, look, the people who know me best are for me, and resoundingly so. Not only because it's New York and her home, but also because Sanders has done very well in small contests, but he's done well in 7 of the last 8. And so he has been claiming the momentum. And of course, he had that enormous gathering in Prospect Park the other night. So she needs to be able to say, look, that's all very nice, but this is reality, and a big state like New York is for me. I think she thinks that she's okay, but we'll see.
You know, we were at Prospect Park and a lot of the other rallies, and it's impossible to ignore the difference, at least in enthusiasm and in size of crowds, frankly, at the different events. And I know it's a microcosm of New York, but more broadly to this point, how divided is the party, or do fences all get mended in Philadelphia like always? Or is there something more structurally that this is exposed?
No, I don't think there's something structural, but I do think that there is a divide. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen a divide between the ages, with young people being for Sanders and older people for Clinton. We've seen it in the races, with non-whites being for Clinton and whites being for Sanders. We've seen it in the income levels, with lower income people being for Sanders, upper income people for Clinton. So it's, you know, it is a divide, a demographic divide that is there. Now, whether those people come back around to Hillary in the fall, assuming she's the nominee, you know, the answer is some will, some won't. But the bigger problem isn't really with the voters in the Democratic side. It's really with the independents and the Republicans who might be turned off by their own nominee, who are getting such harsh rhetoric about Hillary Clinton from Bernie Sanders these days that they just might stay home.
Let me pivot to the Republicans. You heard what Mitt Romney had to say. I don't get the logic. Why does he want Kasich out if his first priority is to keep Trump from getting the nomination? Doesn't that presuppose that every single Kasich supporter is going to vote for Cruz, and that's not the case?
Right, that is the case. I mean, the fact is that the party elders who have been trying to defeat Trump keep trying to come up with one strategy after another, and none of them are working because Trump is appealing to the people he's appealing to. Now, again, looking toward the general election, somebody like Mitt Romney looks at numbers that show that two-thirds, more than two-thirds of the electorate say they have an unfavorable view of Trump, and they say, how can this guy possibly win? So we'll get behind now. So, you know, he's done one strategy after another, and now he's down to, okay, the last guy standing might be Ted Cruz, whether we can stand him or not, and have him be the sole focus of the anti-Trump vote.
I may be conflating a bunch of things here, Cokie, but you saw what Rudy Giuliani said, which was basically close should be good enough for Trump. If he gets to Cleveland and he's 15, 20 delegates short, they should round it off to 1237. Conversely, Paul Ryan, for the 50th denial, he also said, in his view, only a candidate should be eligible to be the nominee. And we've seen a little bit of a love fest in the last few weeks between Fox and Trump, mending fences, maybe with Megyn Kelly, breaking bread, Trump and Murdoch himself, some of the other hosts. Am I reading too much into that at least some members of the...
I don't think you're reading too much into it at all. I think you're being very perceptive. The truth is that they are seeing what they can now consider inevitable, which is a Trump nomination. So then the question is, how do they make that a more palatable situation, both for them and for the party? And that means, to a certain degree, working with him, co-opting him. And, he has given indications that he's happy for that to happen. I mean, he keeps saying, he's just got 2 more people to knock off, and then I'm going to be so presidential, I'm going to bore you. So I think that there are all kinds of backroom conversations going on, side deals getting made that are, and certainly here in Washington, approaches being made to people who are office holders in the Republican Party on the part of Trump and his campaign.
Well, I doubt Trump could bore even if he tried here. But Cokie, I certainly appreciate a view. Again, thank you so much.
Okay, good to be with you, Richard.
All right, first up, we're going to take a look at the Democrats. In the race, a tale of 2 candidates. Hillary staying in New York, trying to scratch up every last vote. Bernie, he's spending the day in Pennsylvania. Will it backfire? We'll get into that after this.